tell us about how you all lived. Like, what's your first memory of being on the farm? Can you tell us that?
Well, of course, when I went to school, I remember going to school,
Mhm.
walking to school.
So you walked across the field from your
Walked
house to
across the field to school.
where Charles David used to live on
Yeah,
Old Hetty
yeah,
Road
yeah,
now.
Yeah. And
Because there was no roads.
no, there wasn't any roads then.
Mhm.
And through the field, there was roads, but that was all.
Did you go when it snowed?
Oh, yeah. We went out every day. We didn't have a snow day.
No snow days.
No. And then, as I grew older, I helped out on the place. Like I say, I helped in the gardens. I helped in the cornfields and setting tobacco and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to. There's 5 of us. We were 5 kids, and mother and dad, and we were poor.
Mm-hmm. So you got all your food from the garden?
Most of it, all except like sugar and fruit and some things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sugar.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad had his flour, corn ground into flour and cornmeal, and milk our own cows. We had our own hog pork. We had our own beef. We had our own mutton. And we killed all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And we canned the meat and the pork. Well, from all of them, we can them.
Did you make your own butter too?
We made our own butter. We made our own cottage cheese and things like that.
Wow.
We milked our own cows. I bet I milked them 100, I don't know how many cows by hand. That's the way we lived. I drove a car when I was 11 years old, Model T Ford, and my mother had a garden at the house, and she had a garden over in the field. She has 2 sisters that lived in Louisville, and she had to furnish them food. So my dad had an old Model T car with her, and when we'd go over and pick the vegetables over in the field, I would drive that Model T car over there. So
to crank it, you had to crank it up.
I had to crank it. We didn't have a pedal to speed it up or slow it down, or we had a brake.
That was it. What happened? You would crank it up and it would start moving.
Yeah. Well, no. We had a brake on it, but they had some kind of little levers inside of it that you worked them to make it run.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, but and I was about 11 or 12 years old when I did that.
No driver's license, huh?
No. No driver's license. I got my driver's. I never did take a driver's test.
Never?
Never. I never took a driver's test. When I went to get my driver's license, Dad took me downtown, and I did do the written test.
Mm.
And a neighbor was a policeman down there, Archer O'Tennell. They lived on Brush Run Road down there.
Mm.
And he saw us and he asked us what we was doing there. And Dad said, well, I come to get our license. And he said, well, said something about the written test. And Dad told him they'd taken their written test. And he said, hand me her papers. He took his cap off, stuck them in his cap, and went outside. He said, I'll be back. 2 minutes, he come back and said, now go get your license.
Well, there you go. That was good.
He went outside and got some of the cops, his friends, to sign the papers. So I never did take a test.
So then you just start driving.
Yeah, I started and then I could drive to Fern Creek and places like that, get your bus and go in town, shop, things like that.
Yeah, because you had to go in town to go shopping.
Oh, yeah, never been anything out here to shop.
Mm-hmm.
Had to go downtown to shop, but I'd drive to Fern Creek, leave the car, and the first time I drove in Louisville, I had a abscessed tooth, and I was going to a specialist downtown.
Mm-hmm.
And my Dad couldn't take me this day. So my cousin took me. I drove over, and then he drive to his house. Then he drove on in. So come out of there, he said, he handed me the car keys. And I said, I don't want those. He said, if you don't drive out of here, we won't go stay right here. So I got on that wheel and I drove out of town. And I was almost afraid to tell Dad, but I thought, well, I better tell him.
Mm-hmm.
So after I told him, and he said, well, you can drive in town now if you want to.
Well, that just one, yeah, you
Yeah.
got your experience,
I
didn't
got
you?
my experience right there. And I was about 18 years old.
Oh my goodness.
I wasn't too old.
So when your dad had the Model T, did he have like a tractor, or how did he plant?
Well, no, he didn't have anything but horses.
So he plowed with the horses.
Plowed the ground with horses, and he put the crops in with horses, and he would plow the crops with the horses, tobacco, corn, and everything. He plowed it all with horses.
How many horses did y'all have?
We had about 4.
Okay.
We had 3 that they worked, and we had 1 riding horse, and that's all she did. She was real gentle, and we could get on her and ride, and just sit her up on her back and take off. So, but I haven't milked any cows since. They started with my husband had a milker, and I didn't milk any cows.
Well, that was good.
You've
probably done with that.
We've still killed hogs, we still kill beef and everything. Now my dad had 2 brothers and a sister. The 4 of them lived kind of in a circle there. And when the way they did their beef, when they killed it, each one of them would take a quarter of a beef. Whenever one, like my dad killed it, then the others would take it. When another one killed, and everybody would go around to get another quarter of beef. And when it ended up, they had a whole beef.
Mm-hmm. That's smart.
Yeah.
Wow.
But we killed our own hogs and did our own pork and all.
So from the hogs, you would get your lard to fry stuff,
and those cracklings.
Yeah.
Oh, those cracklings were so good, hot and all. So, but we had an old wash house there that we had a room in and a stove in it and tables to work all that meat and all up in. Small meat house there that Dad put the hams and.
I remember the meat house. It's still up there, isn't it?
Is it still there? I don't know.
I don't know.
But anyway, Dad would hang. He'd put the hams and shoulders down and salt them, and then after so long a time, we would put them up and wrap them and put them in bags. Put our sausage in stuffings, and we had to clean those guts.
Oh gosh!
But when they were, you could see through them when they were clean, and we'd stuff the sausage in that, and then Dad had a pole in the meat house that he would wrap that around, that pole. And
so you clean the guts and stuff the sausage in it, and then put it in the meat house.
Yeah, sometimes we canned the sausage.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And the tenderloins, Mother canned the tenderloins, and
so with a family of 7,
yeah,
it required a lot of food.
And
plus,
then,
you had help on the farm.
Oh
right?
yeah, and then mutton. Dad killed the mutton most every year.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't like mutton meat, but they knew Mother knew how to cook it. And, so and that's the way we lived.
So when y'all went and put out a garden, what probably wasn't like one of these gardens you see in somebody's backyard.
Oh my gosh, no. They were an acre apiece.
The gardens? Oh wow, that's a lot.
I was all back of that little meat house there. And
sure.
We didn't have inside plumbing or anything. We had our own chickens.
Mm-hmm. Killed chickens.
We killed our own chickens, raised our own chickens, made our own eggs, our own milk, made our own butter.
So y'all were self-sufficient.
Yeah. Except for a few things like sugar and what was that? We had a fruit orchard. We had apples and peaches and pears, but you didn't have oranges or things like that.
Right.
But we had peaches and pears and apples. And
so basically what you had to buy sugar and because you had your flour, you had your butter.
We had flour, we had
eggs,
we had the meal for cornbread and things like that. Yeah, we had all that. my dad and my uncle used to go in town every Saturday, take eggs they had an egg route. And my dad would stop at the grocery and buy what we had to have, or my aunt sometimes would bring them to me. So we, that's 99 years of it almost.
That's a long time. That's a long time. But that's a lot of green beans and a lot of carrots and.
Oh yes, we can. Mother used to make her vegetable soup. She would take a half a gallon jar, and she would like layer a thing of green beans, a thing of carrots, a thing of potatoes, a thing of cabbage, and just layer it in that, fill that up. And it was so pretty when it was all canned and cooked and all,
Oh, I bet it was. Yeah, that's a good idea.
All different colors.
So she would do that for vegetable soup.
And
then she would just have to add her meat to it.
Yeah, we had her meat. And of course, we had to buy our beans, and I got a pot of beans on that. So, but make bean soup. And we didn't have a furnace. We had wood stoves. Had to cook all this stuff off summer and all on the wood stove, hot weather.
Oh my gosh, I bet that kitchen got warm.
Oh my gosh. And Dad would always have to have the silo filled because he had to have that for the calves. And there'd be a big bunch there and a bunch of men there helping him, and Mother would cook for them. And then, of course, when it's rice wheat, there's another big bunch there. They would go through the country, different people's houses, and help them do all that stuff.
And everybody would feed them.
Oh yeah, everybody fed them. Yeah, and all more good pies and cakes and all that. Good, and it was country cooking. It wasn't that city cooking; it was country cooking.
It was down home cooking, right?
And it wasn't just a little bit of it; it was a whole big of it. But
because you were feeding hungry men.
Yeah, well, yeah. And we didn't have electricity until 1941 out in my house. So I was out of high school before we had electricity.
Oh my goodness!
And we used oil lamps. And if you was lucky, sometimes you'd get two sitting on the table to get your homework and all that. Sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we didn't have electricity. We didn't have inside plumbing. We had a little shack out in the backyard. So
yeah.
Back. So like I told you the other day, I guess I told you the other day, we didn't, in the country, we didn't hardly know what toilet paper was. Now, city people knew what toilet paper was, but we'd get a Sears Roebuck catalog, and that was our toilet paper. Well, that's the truth.
You got to use it for something, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well,
so you'd look at the catalog and then take it out to the outhouse.
That's right. We take it to the little outhouse.
Okay.
Mother did a lot of sewing, and she'd order a lot of things from Sears Roebuck, and it was Sears Roebuck and Montgomery Ward.
Right. Did she make your old clothes, or did you?
Yeah, she made a lot of them.
Did she?
Yeah. So Mother did a lot of sewing.
Well, it sounds like y'all worked all day long and
we did
half the night.
We had to.